So, let's talk about a feeling I think we all know. We're surrounded by these massive, overwhelming problems, right? Things like climate change, social division, you name it. And there are so many good people, so many groups out there working their hearts out on solutions. But it all feels so disconnected, like a bunch of tiny islands in a huge ocean. In this explainer, we're going to dig into how we can start building bridges between those islands to create something that's truly powerful. And this quote from business professor Sheena Iyengar, it just nails it. When the old playbook isn't working anymore, trying harder isn't the answer. We have to think bigger.
And that really gets to the heart of the frustration, doesn't it? We see all this amazing work happening all around us, but for some reason, we haven't cracked the code on how to weave it all together. It feels like all these individual actions, as one source put it, just aren't adding up to peace.
Okay, so why? Why do our best efforts seem to stall out? It's definitely not for a lack of passion or trying. The problem, as we're about to see, is a little deeper than that. It's systemic.
Here it is. This is the core of it. We're up against these global, tangled, interconnected challenges, but we're trying to fix them with tools that are often isolated and small scale. It's a fundamental mismatch. And because of that, even the most incredible local project is going to struggle to change the whole system by itself.
So that leaves us with this huge question, right? If all our individual efforts aren't quite enough on their own, how do we combine them? How do we build a movement that's actually big enough to match the scale of the problems we're facing?
Well, the answer, it seems, lies in building a totally new kind of movement, one that runs on a completely different logic than what we might be used to. So, you know that classic protest model, us versus them? We've got to throw that out the window. This new approach works from the inside out. It's not about yelling from the sidelines. It's about getting in there and engaging with that huge middle ground of people who are open-minded. It's about building the biggest coalition you possibly can around what you're for, not just what you're against.
And this slide just lays out that cultural shift perfectly. I mean, look at it. Instead of defaulting to us versus them, we start thinking us with them. We stop thinking in zero-sum terms, where for me to win, you have to lose. And we start obsessively looking for those win-win outcomes. It's about redefining power, not as something you hold over people, but as something you build with them. And maybe the biggest one of all, seeing conflict not as something to run away from, but as a real chance to get creative and actually build something better. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds amazing in theory, but how does an idea like this, a whole new cultural norm, actually take root in the real world? It's not magic, you know. There's actually a science to it.
Okay, check this out. This is a classic model from Everett Rogers called the diffusion of innovation curve. And it's so cool because it was originally used to figure out how farmers decided to adopt new hybrid corn seeds, but it turns out it explains how almost any new idea spreads, from a new phone to a huge social movement. The journey pretty much always follows these steps. It all starts with a tiny group of brave innovators. They're the spark. Then a few respected leaders in the community, the early adopters, get on board. And that's when things get really exciting. You hit a tipping point, and suddenly the idea just explodes into the mainstream, getting picked up by the early and late majority until, boom, it's just the new normal. And here's the key, the absolute game changer. You don't have to convince everybody all at once. The whole game is just to get enough of those early adopters, those influential people in our communities, to buy in. Once that happens, the idea's growth can become totally unstoppable. It just takes off on its own. And the best part? This isn't just some academic theory. It's already happening. There are glimmers of this new culture popping up all over the place, sometimes in the last places you'd expect. I mean, who would have thought? Even in the heart of big business, you're seeing the shift. John Mackey, the guy who founded Whole Foods, talks about a win-win-win philosophy. The idea is that a business should be good for people, good for the planet, and good for profits. That's a huge sign that these collaborative ideas are taking root.
And look at this ecosystem that's already growing. You see it with conscious capitalism, where companies are putting people first. You see it with Rotary, training these local peace activators. It's in movies like Join or Die, which is all about inspiring connection. It's in the Weave Project, supporting the people who build community. Even in the world of big money, you've got groups like the New Pluralists, where funders from the left, right, and center are teaming up. This isn't a future hope. It's happening now.
So all this might sound, well, huge, right? But what's so powerful about this whole idea is that you have a critical role to play in building this ecosystem. It all comes down to this one simple but honestly revolutionary practice called catalytic convening. And the idea is just what it sounds like. You intentionally bring together people from different worlds who would never normally meet. This isn't just regular networking. This is about being the spark plug that creates new collaborations, new ideas, and brand new solutions. And here's the real magic. You don't have to be some big-shot CEO or a famous activist. Your job isn't to go out and start some massive national movement. It's simpler and way more powerful. It's about being a weaver, a connector, a catalytic convener right where you are. In your job, in your neighborhood, in your book club. Your real power is in making the networks you're already in stronger.
So, I want to leave you with a question. Just take a second and think about your world. Who are two people or two groups that don't know each other but really should? Who could you connect that might just spark something brand new? Because that one simple connection is how we start building a world that actually adds up.